This is Back Roads of Illinois, server to farmers and ranchers in central Illinois, and today's edition of Back Roads of Illinois. We were bringing you lasted for farming sources and information sponsored by AgriGold. We were in Decatur for the Farm Progress Show on a Wednesday. I'm Cesar Delgado on today for Back Roads of Illinois. We were in Decatur at the Farm Progress. However, the weather was nice and cool in central Illinois with the cold and crisp air for this week. Otherwise, we were at the Farm Progress Show in Decatur. Meantime, this is the Markets Club podcast for the Farm Progress Show edition. We were talking about the fundamentals with these grains markets, with the yield trends from today's market, with Bruce Blythe from Farm Futures and Connor Bridgman from AgMarkets as well. And with Bruce Blythe from Farm Futures about the Commodities Index from the Farm Futures. Stay tuned for the Markets Club podcast. Also, we were here with Steve Pickstick from Kane County in northern Illinois nearby Chicago, but we were joining with Steve in Decatur for the Farm Progress Show with Illinois Soybean Association. And we were going to have a conversation about soybeans nematode with Horacio López Nicora from the Ohio State University and Dylan Mangel from the University of Nebraska. You've been listening to Back Roads of Illinois and Decatur for the Farm Progress Show. We were going to have a conversation about soybeans nematode with Horacio López Nicora from the Ohio State University and Dylan Mangel from the University of Nebraska. I am glad that I see you guys in Decatur for the Farm Progress Show. Meanwhile, how are you guys today?
Very good, actually. It's lovely weather and really nice to be here with you today.
We're excited to be here. This is really exciting, and we get to talk to different groups and share soybean disease information that we're really passionate about.
Me too as well. Let's discuss about these nematode in the beans. Could you tell us how we can get rid of soybean nematode in the field? Starting with Horacio.
Yeah, that's a beautiful wish in my opinion, and something that we really are working to try to make a reality. Unfortunately, these pathogens, soil-borne pathogens, once they infest a field, once they become present in a field, is very hard and unlikely to get rid of them. So it becomes really an integrated management approach that we need to take to keep those populations low enough that they will not cause significant yield reduction.
Unfortunately, with soybean cyst nematode, it's going to be there, and it's really hard to rotate away from it and to get those out of there. So I think the downside, ultimately, it's going to be across all the soybean fields. Anywhere we have soybean acreage is probably what it'll be like in the future. But that doesn't mean we can't get it down to manageable levels. So if we can get those levels low, then we can at least not have yield loss associated with it.
So one important thing that we need to do is know if we have it. And soil sample will really help us reveal that. And not only it will help us know if we have soybean cyst nematode, it will tell us how much we have. And these informations are extremely important to determine our management strategy.
Is there any recommendations on it during the season, Horacio?
So once we determine that we have soybean cyst nematode during the season, there's pretty much nothing we can do at that point other than start getting ready to manage this problem. We strongly recommend that sometimes we take a soil sample after harvest. We get a very important task, which is harvest soybean, and the field is very easy to walk through and collect soil samples. Also, the population will peak at that point. We will be able to obtain how much soybean cyst nematode we have in that field. Most of the time, that field will go to corn the next year, and it will give us plenty of time to come up with a good management strategy. Resistance is an important tool. Rotate to non-host such as corn is a great tool, and consider a seed treatment to improve root health. It's also an integrated strategy.
How about you, Dylan? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, like a lot of disease, once it's there, these plants really have a limited ability to heal themselves. So once it's there, all we can do is take notes on it and see where we have that. But it's never too early to start planning for how you're going to manage that, because growers, they've got to plan way ahead when they're buying seed and when they're planning seed treatments. So starting really early is what you've got to do. So just taking notes and knowing where you have this goes a long way.
Yes. Dylan, what is the best fungicide to nematode for the beans?
So for managing soybean cyst nematode, we've got a whole separate class that specifically focuses in on the nematode specifically. So we call those nematicides. And there's several options available. Another thing is we've got new bionematicides becoming available. So the market really has a lot of different products in categories changing right now, and many of them are highly effective. Another exciting thing is there's new products coming onto the market. Syngenta has a new nematicide coming out as well, and there's outside of nematicides, we've got things like a new BT trait called Nemosphere coming out onto the market. That's going to help manage this as well. So.
Do you mix with that like for second?
So with these, they're all basically applied as a seed treatment. So they're going to go onto the seed, and they'll go in with the seed at planting. Some of the bionematicides might go on soil surface, for example, or in furrow. There's a lot of products out there, but most of them you could think of just being applied with that full package seed treatment.
So in addition to what Dylan is saying, I want to make a comment that these seed treatments are not a silver bullet. They really have to go hand in hand with resistance, which is our best tool for managing soybean cyst nematode. In addition to that, results from seed treatments to manage soybean cyst nematode, it's quite inconsistent. So we need to consider using as a way of complementing other management tools.
Of course, they are having an issue. Horacio, you're finding the perfect way to get rid of soybean nematode in Columbus at the Ohio State. However, the farmers are finding it difficult to figure out how to get rid of it from your research.
Yes, we're working very diligently to try and find better ways to protect yield. So that's number one. We want to protect yield by any combinations of management strategies we think of, and simultaneously reduce the population of soybean cyst nematode in those fields. So in order to do that, in my research program, we work in two phases. One, in research stations when we have high levels of soybean cyst nematode.
Do you have any final thoughts about database of the soybean nematode with the weather and weeds? I go with Horacio.
Yeah, that's a great question, right? Metadata. What other information should we be taking into account? The soybean cyst nematode, it's a soil-borne pathogen, and inhabiting the soil, which is a great buffer for many climatic change or changes in weather, allows them to always be there infecting plants, right? You mentioned also, you say weather, but also weeds, and that's a very interesting comment, because we know that the soybean cyst nematode primarily affects soybean as a main agronomic crop. However, we know, when we have evidence, that it can also infect and reproduce on some of our winter annual weeds, such as henbit or purple dead nettle, or pennycress even. So very careful of, very, very infested fields with these weeds, that we consider a fall herbicide application to keep those alternative hosts out of the ground. So we reduce the population of the nematode as we rotate to a non-host in the next season after soybean.
Dylan, do you have any final thoughts or recap of our conversation for today?
Yeah, just to follow on, there's interactions between soybean cyst nematode and other pathogens too, and we're just scratching the surface on what we know about that. But ultimately, if you've got a plant that has a parasitic nematode on the roots, it's just not going to be able to defend as well against other pathogens, and those might show up together in a lot of cases. So our message really at this point is, and we're coming again to nearing harvest for a lot of these soybean fields. It's perfect timing to get out there, soil sample for soybean cyst nematode, plan for those future seasons. Think about varieties and which resistance genes they're going to use. Seed catalogs will list different resistance sources for soybean cyst nematode defense, and rotate through different ones to make sure they're not overusing them. Plan ahead for those seed treatments if you're going to put one in there and align that in your field. And of course, thankfully, corn is not a host. So rotating back and forth with corn really helps keep these nematodes down a lot. So think about not a single one of those management choices, but working with all of those together to get the best control and keep low levels of these nematodes low.
In addition to what Dylan just mentioned, there are other plant parasitic nematodes that affect soybean. And depending on what region of the United States you're farming, let's say in the southern part of the United States, you may encounter that the real issue and problem there is root knot nematode. And fortunately, with support of United Soybean Board, we are preparing 4 management guides that will address soybean cyst nematode, root knot nematode, reniform nematode, and lesion nematodes that are all plant parasitic nematodes that can significantly damage and reduce yield on soybean. So that's coming up at the end of this season, beginning of next year. So be on a lookout for those management guides. I think you will really appreciate what we're putting together.
Thanks you guys for today at the Farm Progress Show in Decatur. Meantime, enjoy your day at the Farm Progress.
Thank you very much for having us. This was great.
Thank you. We really appreciate being on.
I'm with Horacio López Nicora from the Ohio State University and Dylan Mangel from the University of Nebraska at the Farm Progress Show in Decatur on back roads of Illinois.
Nice job.
Yeah, that was great.